We got two brand new trailers for Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, one for Complete Edition and DLC4 that is scheduled to arrive on January 17 in Japan and January 18 in the West, also featuring patch notes and detailed additions in terms of free quality of life improvements that everyone will enjoy regardless of their DLC purchase, and for those who purchased Dissonance of the Nexus aka Diva of the Snowfields, featuring Sachi, Diva Yuna, 7 and AG, which only Japan has access to for pre-orders at the moment. Hopefully we'll get it as well rather sooner than later. You can watch the trailer by clicking the icon on the top right corner and come back for all the information regarding it. We also got a 30-second preview for a brand new animated opening that you'll get with DLC4 and Complete Edition of Fatal Bullet, animated by A1, and now we'll talk about both. I'll quickly start with the new opening movie since it won't take very long. You can watch that yourself via the link below in the description and in the pinned comment, but first off, don't worry about the music. Most probably this opening will feature Thrill Risk Heartless as well, and not this musical monstrosity in the 30-second preview. The current music is most likely just a placeholder, but even from the preview we can see that the opening is not just for DLC4 but rather the entire game, as it opens with protagonist releasing Arphasis from the canister. Then we see Itsuki, Zeliska and Kureo of course in a room in Glokken, cheerfully talking to each other, which suggests it's before the ending of the base game, so either before the first DLC chapter, Ambush of the Imposters, or after the third DLC chapter, Collapse of Balance. However, at the very end of the preview, when it starts fading off, we definitely see the Diva Yuna who is being introduced into Fatal Bullet with DLC4, so the opening does cover pretty much the entire spectrum of Fatal Bullet so far. On top of all these things, the opening is animated by A1 Pictures as mentioned earlier, the same studio animating the mainline Sword Art Online series, and the animation quality definitely reflects that. It's not on the same level as Ordinal Scale or Alicization, but it still looks very crisp and detailed, which I am very excited to see. However, the new trailer for DLC4 obviously has more to talk about. Keep in mind that half of the trailer is for the Complete Edition, which does not offer much new stuff, so we'll just jump to the 55-second mark, opening up to the protagonist watching the Aurora Borealis lights in the new area with Arphasis, as Yuna is humming at this point, which I imagine to be the theme song of Dissonance of the Nexus DLC. We see dialogue scenes, some of which have appeared before in various previews, and we translated most of them with SAO Wikia, which you can watch by clicking the icon on the top right, and some new ones that we haven't seen as previews before, featuring AG, 7 and Yuna as well. Then we get to see some weapons and customization related things, for example the dual rocket launchers here. Then we cut to the protagonist reviving Kirito, which seems to be a new item that revives an ally, as well as generating a shield around your immediate vicinity to protect you in those early valuable revive seconds. We get a glimpse of what seems to be a boss within the DLC, which seems like a larger version of the Spider-Bot type enemies. Don't quote me on that since that is just an assumption, but if the final boss is just a larger reskinned enemy, I'll be quite disappointed. I love that the base game as well as each individual DLC had their own unique final bosses, so I'm hoping this is just a bait and switch on the PR team's side. In fact, I'm quite certain that it actually is, since back in trailer 2 we saw this giant ice wizard and it certainly looks more like a proper boss than this bigger spider enemy is. But the trailer is not over yet, as we see the three idols 7, Rain and Yuna singing together on an isolated arena within the mountains, activating a beam of light, and based on experience this probably summons the actual boss or something. Large beams of light are never good. After this though, we switch back to seeing old content or content we have seen in previous DLC4 trailers, but there are still interesting bits here and there. Right here, we actually see Yuna passing out and AG attempting to support her. With a very different promise than what Ordinal Scale offered, I can actually see AG becoming a very cool ally in this circumstance. He doesn't seem like he is desperately going against us to revive the original Yuna. He seems to be working together with us to take care of the Diva Yuna, and considering his backstory is already mirroring Kirito without a second person to heal his wounds, which was Asuna for Kirito in this case, AG essentially is just a broken Kirito. Remember, it was Kirito who said he would even fight Klein and his guild back in Aincrad's Christmas event to get the revival item for himself. When someone is desperate, they can attempt to do things they wouldn't otherwise do, and with Ordinal Scale not existing yet in the gameverse, AG does not really have that desperation, making it possible to be an actual ally, which will only put more salt to the wound once we actually get an Ordinal Scale game, forcing him to become our enemy. Too much theorizing, getting off topic here. Right after AG catching the unconscious Yuna, we see Lievre's pod opening up, which means she is going to be involved with the story as well, and considering the secret ending of DLC3 featuring Subtilizer from Alicization, may be safe to say that this time around Lievre will be an ally, considering Subti already has all the data he needed. However, the upcoming bit may as well be spoilers if I'm theorizing correctly, so you may want to jump to the time mentioned on your screen to avoid it. I'll give you time by stating that you can get Sword Art Online Fatal Boot via the Amazon affiliate links provided in the description, as well as the SAO light novels and or manga to support my channel, but if you're still here, that means you want to hear my interpretation of these scenes. Well, we have seen Sachi in this specific location for the third time now, since this is the third trailer for DLC4. But if you watch the third trailer carefully, right after unconscious Yuna, Lievre's pod opening, Itsuki's main story ending scene, we get to see this, a scene where Kirito is looking at shattering polygons, someone at his arm's reach that he probably was hugging or at least holding very close. Well, compare the backgrounds and it seems fairly clear that Sachi seems to be dying yet again, so press F to pay respects to Sachi. But with that, we move on to the patch notes. Huge thanks to Ikaze24 on Twitter, starting with the free update version 1.6.0 that you will get regardless of if you purchase the DLC4 or not. New maps for online PvP, which is always nice for the 5 days the online PvP is active after an update. 3 new hardcore co-op dungeons, which is always welcomed. I never thought they'd be all that interesting when they were first introduced in the free November update, but I found myself playing them more often than I had ever played online co-op. There's bound to be new powerful weapons attached to them as well. In addition to the 3 hard dungeons, 6 new normal co-op quests will be added, a brand new mode is being added to hero quests called Battle of Ruins, which will probably have a different localized name in reality, but we have not yet seen anything from this new mode. But subscribe, since I'm bound to sharing it once we actually see gameplay footage in a Bandai Namco livestream before the DLC launch. New costume at the Metal Trader, more customization, new items that your RFSs can buy, more bounty rewards, which is amazing, I love chasing bounty rewards, rank 11 upgrade weapons as expected, along with new level cap increase to 275. Item menu now showcases the base crit rate and crit damage values of a weapon as well, which is amazing news for those who want to carefully min-max their loadout. NPC weapon proficiency limit raised to 5000, which I wonder what it actually does. It surely has to be bound to something or boost their stats. And last but not least, weapon and accessory memory chip values raised, so you can stack even higher bonuses. All in all of this was pretty much expected based on our experiences with the previous DLCs, so let's move on to the benefits of DLC4 itself. Naturally, it comes with a main campaign, which was advertised as 2 parallel stories going concurrently in previous trailers, one focusing on Kirito and co, while the other focusing on Kureha and the alternative GGO cast. Lievre, Yuna, AG, 7 and Sachi added as was advertised, and as I speculated based on that Lievre pod opening scene, makes me wish I actually read the patch notes before analyzing the trailer. But new area, White Frontier, which is said to feature only 2 new dungeons, which I have to say is kinda disappointing, but that also depends what they do with the overall map itself. But I still kinda expected this area to be on the same scope as one of the previous main game areas, with at least 3 new dungeons, so that is definitely a bummer for me, especially considering the price of this DLC being relatively higher than the previous ones. 18 more party hero quests, which I assume to be the regular no dialogue quests that DLC 1 and 2 had. 4 new bed scenes, which is interesting. Somebody from the new characters won't be getting a bed scene, which is probably AG to be honest, or maybe Sachi depending on circumstances. It's also safe to assume that whoever gets those bed scenes Yuna, Eiji and Sachi will have their scene with Kirito due to being mainline characters, and Seven and Lievre will be handed out to the protagonist, so yeah, it's probably one of the 3 on Kirito's side getting axed from bed scenes. 3 new skills and 2 new gadgets, some of which the trailer showcases most prominently on the 4 split screenshot that we see here. The splits on the left and bottom right showcase new skills, while top right features a trap kind of gadget that you set up and it debuffs enemies, and of course the other gadget would be the revival item with the shield. But yeah, I never used gadgets, so I do not really care, but skills I am interested in. New boss enemy or enemies, which is never clear when it's Japanese, so both are equally possible. It literally doesn't specify within the language, but one of which is definitely this ice wizard enemy, and chances are the large spider bot is one of the story mini bosses in the campaign. New quests from Asuna, Lievre, Yuna, Eiji and Seven. Hopefully there are actually voiced quests with some substance rather than those disappointing quests that I mentioned earlier. 12 new subquests, which are always nice sources of additional materials and chips, 14 new craftable costumes at Asuna's shop, 39 new accessories, 6 new weapons. Wait, only 6 new weapons? That seems a little not enough. I'm hoping they are adding more weapons as part of the free update, so this number is maybe solely the isolated DLC weapons, because I don't know, even Destiny at its smallest expansions has the courtesy to add a decent amount of weapons. Still, more hairstyles and faces, some of which are bound to be the ones from the new characters, Lisbeth Blacksmith rank increased, and last but not least, new cutscenes added to the gallery. With all the patch notes out of the way, I feel like they have shown all these additions, including the cutscenes in the trailers already, like they did with the previous smaller expansions. This really does not get me all that hyped. I feel like we're getting exactly what we were expecting, which is not a bad thing, definitely not. It's just, after being underwhelmed by the main game and the 3 subsequent small DLCs, I expected something that would get me slightly hyped, you know, and slightly over-deliver maybe, but it seems like that won't be the case. But hey, at the very least, this seems like the one DLC that is actually going to deliver on what it promised, so there is that. But that is going to be it from this news coverage. Dissonance of the Nexus, aka Diva of the Snowfields DLC, will be releasing January 17th in Japan and 18th in the western regions. And remember, it is not included in your season pass. This is the 4th DLC and is not part of the season pass that ended with DLC3. If you enjoy the news arriving at your doorstep straight from Japan, do consider supporting me on Patreon. I have been having quite the hardest time due to blatant copyright abuse, and the channel has been axed quite a bit during this process, which I'm still fighting back to get back on track. And this is an answer to those still asking me where Alicization Explained videos are. I am fighting a copyright battle, everyone, and I am fighting to keep my channel away from being terminated. I am continuing to work, but to be on the safe side, I strongly recommend following me on other platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, Twitch, etc., so I can properly update you should shit go down. I also upload my Alicization Explained videos on Facebook as a backup source, so you can still find those videos there. Episodes 7 and 10, as well as the opening explained, are already up on my channel, and the rest will be up there soon. Also, my Volume 12 Alicization Rising giveaway has concluded and Ellen M has won. I shipped this reward already, but have not yet started my V13 giveaway due to dealing with these issues. I'm aiming to get it up as well as soon as possible. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and a huge thanks to my patrons who are supporting me throughout these tough times. I'll see you later this week, hopefully, and stay cool.